Wednesday Night Poetry. Hello, Wednesday Night Poetry. I'm Jessica Cuello. I'm a poet in Syracuse, New York, but I am currently in Colorado doing a low residency MFA, hence the dorm room. And it's a little sad today, and I was going to hide it, but I know Kai Coggin, and I know she allows for everything, including sadness, joy, and hyacinths. So I'm delighted to read for you tonight. I'm going to read from my brand new book, Yours Creature. It came out this May from Jackleg Press. It is a book of epistolary poems in the voice of Mary Shelley. Most of the poems are addressed to her mother, the poet and activist Mary Wollstonecraft, and some of the poems are addressed to her creature from Frankenstein, and some are addressed to years. Dear Mother, I wanted to crawl back into the black interior of you, womb scratched by an animal, but they wouldn't let me. I hung apart like gallows men, dangling for sweet touch. A line from the red radius of your womb went dark. That night, the whole of London raised its eyes to watch the comet pass, except for us. Instead, my currish cry and snarl, my cuss, my cut and run, my cutting tooth, made death a custom house. Your daughter, Mary Shelley. Dear Mother, I am threatened with a return of my girlish troubles, my arm covered red with scabs, my hand a floor at the abattoir. At night, the animal cry is the clock strike hour of sour milk. At noon, the swinging pig is ankles tied. In the 3 stories of the Skinner house, my stepmother is not you. Her latch on me is fixed, and I learned to regard myself with her repulsion, fixed to the mold in her domestic eye. My skin is a revolt. How can it not cry animal when she pulls my hair and knocks me down? With longing for your presence, Mary Shelley. Her mother, Mary Wollstonecraft, died 13 days after she was born from an infection when the doctor tried to pull the placenta out. Mary Shelley lived with her father, Godwin, the scholar, and in the next poem, he is referred to only by the initial G. Dear Mother, I watch G's fingers on the page, neck with a faint line, neck you loved, so I love it too. He is the glaze through which I see the sun. We call the goat's beard in our field, sweet meadow, go to bed at noon, and wise father men. I touch the feathered heads to feel the god of it. At Chalk Farm, we drink the cream of syllabubs. Sister holds my arm, but I am the apple of his eye. I am the reader of his work. His frown can collapse my spine. His grief for you becomes a pillar my attention winds onto. Are you mad that I took your... G is mad with his glacial love, and becomes more so despite my maniacal reading toward love. A child can kill its mother, baby, wet and monstrous, slipping with eyes opened, black and white, the stewed creation, not asking to be born, but requiring. M. This poem opens with a quote from Coleridge, who was a guest in Godwin's house when Mary Shelley was young. The cadaverous silence of Godwin's children is quite catacombs. Dear Mother, silence was my pride, my object stillness, the quiet prize. My brain was a carnation on a stem, made my God of a father look at me. Quiet petals and silver pages, I meant to read until I was his perfect daughter, but P put one hand beneath my smock, and all the untouched years responded. Godwin had nothing to hold me with. I didn't know he'd snap me like a stem and toss me on a pile of exile. He was my God, first partner, the sun to my green tissue. He sent me letters with formal closings. As though I was still plicate in my room, leaf ribs pointed toward him, plumule hidden from all but him. Mother, you didn't raise me. Mary Shelley. In this poem, the initial P refers to poet Percy Shelley. Dear Mother, scratch beneath the surface of a man and there's no help. P disappears when babies die. There are so many tasks. Father hated me for being sad. I pursued ideas like a horse, a dog, always behind, raised by a dictum but not a man. I was a tent stitch on the pocket of his mind, a grafted cut in his bark of book. I cried in the open, less girl than known, when the bell at the cow's neck rang tan, 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 and I took my first affection from her wet black eye. Yours as ever and unmothered, Mary. Dear Rejection, 1815. In threes they came, the mother, the father, the holy lover. One by one they cut me loose. The first went underground without me. The second couldn't bear to touch me. I was monstrous, toddling from bed with open mouth, a devil girl with spindly neck. The third was a boy who touched my thigh to prove that I was nectar made, my girlhood gone. He fled whenever I felt too much. Who can love a second time? His face was the only male face. Absence always could subsume me, powered as it was by the first rejection, God's holy three of no, no, never. Yours, as I have always been, Mary Shelley. This book is in sections. I don't know if you can see this, but the sections are divided by Semitic art by poet Christine Snodgrass. And those evoke the idea of text that's present in this book. I've got two more. Dear Sweden, 17. Mary Shelley's mother was unmarried, and when she had a baby, when she was unmarried, a half-sister of Shelley, and she pursued her lover's cargo ships through Sweden in the ocean, alone on the ship with her baby. Dear Sweden, 1795. She wrote that an enlarged mind is no use, and muttered over her dead friend. She could not mutter over me unborn, a fire not yet in her eye. She still gazed toward the bridge's ledge. She didn't know I would do it for her, be her little murderer. My own afterbirths came out like floors of flesh, pink animals, the child and I needed together. Hers stayed inside the first room of death. They put me in a stranger's arms, but back when they pulled her from the river where she tried to drown, the room I would occupy in her was warm. Yours in London, 1820, M.S., daughter of M. Wollstonecraft. Many of you may know that Mary Shelley had 4 children and only one survived. This poem has a line from one of her letters. Dear Mother, I had a dream that my little baby came to life again. What is it to make a life that dies? Like God, it cannot stand to stay. Cabbage leaves are soft like cloth and smell of tea. I wore them on my breast like medicine. The earthy taste of tea made me hate my flesh. I didn't know if I was made of anything else. Her 13 days were the only time, and they had no measure. Clouds swirled like bands of twisted cloth. I'm sorry to burden you. As a child, I was spooked by the empty hall when Father moved us in. At first, he loved me like I was you, and in the dream, we rubbed it by the fire and it lived. Yours as ever, Mary. Dear creature, because of what I did, society never let me in. Dim-witted towns don't see you, but I still remember the tactile coolness of earth beside my mother's grave and P's dry hand, first on my face, then pressed to the second heartbeat between my legs. I spent the rest of my life scrambling to get back alone with him. Because of what I did, because of this, no prayers went up. A wall attached to my growth and tree knot child, curled black worm glistening on the shore, foam child, wave father, he couldn't even swim. Your loving creator, MS. And you may know that Percy Shelley drowned in a boating accident. Thank you, Wednesday night. Sorry, I got nervous. Thank you, Wednesday Night Poetry. It's really great to be here. Kai Coggin is the best. She's wonderful. Kai, thank you for everything you do to bring poems into this world.